Riv, we suggested the Shyvana ban. The Shyvana ban comes through, and High responds with Kha'Zix.
We saw Kha'Zix.
Of all things. Thoughts on that?
It didn't do that much. Like, the rest of Cloud9 played really well, and the presence of Kha'Zix, once he got team at, he farmed, like, super hard. But honestly, he just didn't really do much until level 11 and then reset some late-game team fights. So I guess it worked because they won. As long as he's comfortable, it seems like Cloud9 is able to have success.
All right, we did see...
all I have to say is I love League of Legends.
There it is.
It's true.
Yeah.
Segment's done.
I think a big thing about this, though, is once they stopped relying on a Moo for engage, they started realizing, okay, our jungler doesn't do anything aside from damage. Let's make the rest of our comp actually work. And the rest of the comp is actually working. That's the common thread here. The rest of C9 are doing super well. And I got to give so much props to Incarnation here. I talked before the last game about coaches sort of making team comp adaptations to like the player tendencies. And it was C9, you know, building a backline, building some engage, you know, preying on Keen a little bit. The big tendency of Incarnation was to play really far up in lane over and over and over and over again. And Gravity, I thought, made a really smart choice to like camp the hell out of mid lane and play a point-and-click stunning mid laner as well with TF. And I don't know how, but Incarnation just like never, ever died this game despite the camp.
Yeah, I don't really know how either. Multiple times we saw summoners used on the side of Gravity for an attempted kill onto Incarnation. He gets away without using any of his own.
The first gank worked really easy when they chained him together. But aside from that, yeah, he escaped frequently. And to a larger point, Gravity played a split-pushing pick composition, and I don't think we saw a Twisted Fate ultimate succeed in a kill the whole game. Yeah, they did double cleanse on the solo laners and a Varus, so if he ever teleports into a team fight, he gets shut down. Like, the Twisted Fate fell very flat, aside from the first kill they were able to get in the mid lane.
They were also a little bit unlucky, I would say, in some of the ganks. Like, they had a free kill on Incarnation, but they couldn't decide who should have the kill, and then he just got away. But obviously, yeah, the use of TF was not used correctly. I would have loved to see like more play around the bot lane, like try to pressure the Varus to use his flash or cleanse, and then after that try to use the TF to punish him. But we didn't actually see that. It was all about pressuring the mid lane, and they couldn't actually do anything about it.
I mean, that's the bargain you go for, right? Like, Bunny either stays in lane and they try to force bot lane down, which to cleanse Varus is kind of hard, and with the Braum in front it's hard, so he chose to go mid. And yeah, that was the bargain, right? They gave up bot pressure for mid pressure. Didn't quite work. That's rough. Top lane, I mean, maybe that was going to be available, right? Like, I mean, Gangplank has some slows. He has a lot of damage, but maybe you can't kill off Maokai. But again, like C9 respected the CC really, really well.
I think the bigger part here is High on jungle Kha'Zix. Evolved his Q first. His one way of escaping Twisted Fate is to go invisible, but that doesn't work against Twisted Fate. He has a little baby jump. They have Gragas and Alistar potentially roaming. Like, High is the dude they should have been killing. They should have been invading his jungle hard. Kha'Zix does not jungle near full health pretty much at all. And these weird picks that High is pulling out are really not getting punished very hard by Gravity at all.
Well, that's the thing, is Gravity aren't going for these orchestrated dives anymore, right? Like, they've realized, like, when they go for these things and we look back to their playoff series against TSM, them going for dives lost them games because of miscommunication. And if that's not being shored up, they're saying, okay, let's not play a very aggressive early game, which then gives license to High. And now I don't know if you start playing very different team comps. Like, Urgot's gone, so you can't play that anymore, but like, maybe the AP Cog comes back and you play these really late game wave clear teams where the vision control that Move is still providing allows you to scale up. And if Gravity goes for big scaling teams, then maybe that one works now. And when he was getting big carry Victor, Keen was doing well. So like you play around these big late game carries, maybe that style is going to work because you know C9's not pressuring you that hard early game because High's farming.
What I would love to see from Gravity was try to maybe prioritize the Maokai, maybe try to take it away from C9. Because I think the Maokai is allowing Cloud9 to like decide when they want to fight and force it. And then it also allows High to have a lot more diversity in the jungle, like picking the Kha'Zix, picking the Shyvana. So I think that's what Gravity maybe should look for, but it's a hard task at this point.
Yeah, having multiple engagement tools for Cloud9 definitely paying dividends. You know, you mentioned the fact that Gravity wasn't finding the right fights, or essentially, you know, talking about Move's vision control though, people are getting picked off, getting that isolated Q damage from High, which is what made his full damage build so effective. So, you know, from the defensive standpoint, was the warding really there for Gravity?
I mean, it felt like it was. I mean, generally speaking, like, and we look at throughout just the series in general, right? Like, High didn't even get a Sightstone this game. Like, arguably C9's vision control should have been even worse this game than ever before, at least in the first two games. And we were already seeing big pockets of Fog of War that Gravity's playing around very well. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'd have to look back through all the fights and see, you know, were people in the fog of war when they're coming in, or these, like, you know, really just small gambles that didn't pay off. And yeah, okay, C9 eventually, when they wrested control of the game, because they were getting like really good pushes down, they're getting these random picks, then they can start pushing in the minion waves and falling back to Baron. High went for upgraded sweeper to try to build pockets of fog. I know a couple of you guys were saying like, oh, he could have gone upgraded warding totem and helped make sure C9 had wards, but I mean, High's choice was to create fog and try to play around those pockets. And I mean, High's still a very good player. He's still a very smart player. He managed to create those pockets, so good for him.
And, really, and to be fair, playing Kha'Zix against an Alistar and Ashe,
Gragas,
and TF is very, very risky. Like one CC and you're probably going to get blown up. So, I mean, props to him for pulling it out. It's very, very difficult.
What was a champion that he knew in the mid lane quite well? I do want to jump into our replay. It's the final fight underneath the mid inhib turret. Up on your screen now. Freak, you were talking about Incarnation playing very well from the back line. He has a huge factor in dealing with the dive here from Gravity.
And so the interesting thing is now Gravity for the first time aren't running 3 tanks, so it's just Alistar and Gragas who can threaten the back line. And Gragas isn't the most durable man ever, and so if you roll the clip out, watch how C9 handles their own back line here. It's Sneaky and Koke. So Bunny goes in, he gets a little bit, but he doesn't hit either the AD carries, Ashe Arrow either. So now Move is alone with Keen. And to be fair, they get some damage in Incarnation, but not enough. Those two aren't going to win the 2v2 against 2 higher damage champions. They break right through the front line, and now it's cleanup. I mean, High gets to look really cool with all his resets and whatnot, but that was the really core members already being dropped out. That's hilarious. Q auto attack pretty much one-shots the guy.
Well, that's the full damage Kha'Zix there.
One good point about this fight is that it's Gravity trying to engage onto C9, but in this case, both C9 carries Sneaky and Incarnation has their flash up and their cleanse up. So it should be nearly impossible to actually get to their backline if C9 actually plays it correctly. So it's just a kind of like lose-lose situation for Gravity at this point.
Yeah. And the thing is, this team comp had so much wave clear. You've got Twisted Fate and Gangplank. And the thing is, you need to, also your team comp needs to pick one thing to do in team fights. You either all group up and hit the front line, which is funny, if they had Orianna, and like Gangplank's good at killing frontline. Ashe can really only go over frontline because she doesn't have luxury of target selection. Like, you can just blow up the tanks. That's okay to play that way. TF's not great at that, though. TF can reach the back line with very little help because who else penetrates there? So there was a bit of a disconnect there. I think realistically, if they just went and killed off the Braum first, then killed off the Kha'Zix afterwards, then killed off the Maokai, that could have been fine, but they didn't play it that way.
Yeah, well, we have a tied-up series, gentlemen.
Yeah, we do.
We'll be right back with a series-deciding match between Cloud9 and Gravity. Stay with us because we've got Silver Scrapes coming your way right now.
Okay, so call for help every time you get pressured. Call for what you need, okay? Everyone make sure to just keep communicating, call for what you need, talk to the team.
Balls is forced to flash out. The laser actually coming through and hitting up Move. Takes him down. Gravity now in a bad spot.
I'm going on TF. TF. Oh, TF. TF over here. Careful.
Ash.
Can you go, boss? I'm out of the fight. Back.
Cloud9 really want this game fight. That's going to be Altec as well, one after the other. Keen, however, walks out of the base and nobody else wanted to leave home on that one. Cloud9's going to be jumping in. Cloud9 and Gravity are going to a game 5.